Did your great grandmother get it on with cavemen? Find out on the next Twisted 10.
Welcome to another episode of The Twisted 10.
What's good, guys? What's going on?
Hello.
Fellas, full studio tonight. Ron in the house. Josh over on the couch.
Yo.
And your hostess with the mostest, I'm Adam. Nah, that's been used, I think, somewhere before.
It has.
I'm Adam. Thanks for tuning in.
Most, babe.
Yeah, there you go. The host and the most, babe.
What is that originally from? I've definitely heard that.
Beetlejuice.
Yes. One of the greatest shows, in my opinion, of all time. I thought I saw something that they're doing.
I like the movie better.
Beetlejuice 2.
Yeah, I've been seeing that off and on forever, and Burton's spoken about it. I've seen Keaton commit to it, uncommit. I've seen, what was her face? Winona Ryder? Is that
Winona Ryder, yeah.
Is that right? Yeah,
she was
the
teenager, the angsty teenager.
If you look it up now in IMDb, I believe she may still be the only one that shows casted, but it has changed off and on over time. I think Burton is still interested in doing that project. I know that he said, they have him quoted saying, he will not do it without Keaton period into story. Beyond that, I don't know if there's a script. I don't know if there's any kind of commitment we don't know about. I'm not sure. Funny, I don't want to get into a rant here, but I miss the days of not knowing anything about a fucking movie till I was at the movies or on watching TV and I saw a full-length trailer for it and I knew when it was coming out. Now I'm like find myself following Avatar, for chasing that for 7 years.
Oh my God.
Avatar 2, I should say, and all these sequels, and are they going to do this, and aren't they going to do that?
Man,
and I'm kind of on information overload on movies anymore.
I'm on IMDb, by the way. Here's the funny, this is a real quick story for you. One of our show friends, Hysteria 51, they publish their information to IMDb because they have some pretty big guests occasionally.
Okay.
And so if you searched up one of the guests that they had and didn't know they did a show of Hysteria 51, you'll see Hysteria, also appeared on Hysteria 51 episode whatever. So when I did a couple of those episodes with them, they used my name and gave me credit. So now you can search for my name and there it is. There's my one appearance on Hysteria 51.
If you upgrade your account to a paid account, I don't know how much that costs. You can actually put in your picture, like a nice photo and all that, make it look professional. Right now, it's just like the gray.
You two know the picture I would use, right?
Yes.
Enough said.
Yes, I do.
All right, Josh. Sorry, I stole your thunder.
So I had a movie moment last week, right before the weekend. I finally watched the Marvel Comics Phase 4 8-minute mega trailer for everything that's coming.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So I hadn't paid any attention. It started out because I was looking for where I could watch the old Blade movie, the old vampire movie.
Oh, he says old Blade movie. I'm like, yeah, that was from my childhood.
It's from 98. It's 20
I graduated
years
like
ago.
Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes, yeah.
Okay.
The old, and what it ended up, I heard a song that was a remix of the club mix at the beginning of the first movie. And that track has always stuck with me. So I heard it, I was like, oh shit, I'm going to watch Blade again. For one, there's nowhere that you can stream it without paying for like a rental fee, which is fine. Just
Voodoo.
I'll save you that search. But Blade is getting rebooted into the Marvel universe.
Really? I didn't know Blade was Marvel.
I didn't either. So yeah, Blade's coming in 23, I think is what I saw. 22, whatever, soon. But they've casted Blade.
I'm about to go on my opinion of that too, and I'm afraid Ron's list doesn't have anything to do with movies tonight.
It has. I was just thinking. I was sitting there staring. How am I going to segue into this fucking thing? I ain't going to be able to segue in it. I was literally just thinking that like 30 seconds ago. I'm like, I have no way to segue this.
On the Marvel side of the house, though, last night I watched like the cool movies for 2021. Loki is going to be a whole spinoff.
Oh yeah, they've been talking about that Loki show for a while. They're doing WandaVision right now. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's gotten better. No spoilers, but it starts.
Somebody
out
said
so
the
bad.
first 2 episodes are like, and then episode 3 it gets going.
It's done for. I'll tell you, it's done for a reason. I mean, there's a reason they're intentionally bad. There's a reason for it, and you'll find out more the more episodes you start watching. But I appreciate the creativity of the producer director from Marvel. Whoever's doing this style, cool. Whoever wrote this, good on you, because you're going to get a cool following from this. It's just not my flavor. I'm not a fan of how this whole series is unfolding, and I don't think I'm going to probably continue to watch it. I'm frustrated at the show in general, but not because it doesn't. I mean, it's good, but it's just not my flavor. It
looked odd, the whole setup and concept. I'm not even sure I know the full concept because I've only seen the trailers, but it looked very weird. I didn't understand, but I figured I'd understand when I watched the show.
So only one more movie thing. On Wikipedia, there's a breakdown of the next Spider-Man movie that's coming out. The new Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Wait, is there another new Spider-Man?
Is this the Spider-Man that's going to have multiple Spider-Mans, like the live-action Spider-Verse movie, or is this another Spider-Man?
It's not live-action Spider-Verse. It's but it is Spider-Verse in general. It's the new Tom Holland Spider-Man, and they're going into the Spider-Verse in some way with the old Kirsten Dunst, Mary Jane. I think.
Yes.
That Mary Jane.
So Kirsten Dunst is coming back?
She's already casted.
And
all right, I'm there. I don't care. I'm there.
Previous Spider-Man too, right?
Yeah,
like we're going to see.
And the other two
Tobey
Sony
Maguire.
Spider-Men.
You're going to see multiple Spider-Men in one movie?
It's like, that's why I said this is like the Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
I was like, this is like the live action of the Spider-Verse in a way.
I guess so. The reason I said no is because so far as I've seen, Miles Morales is not in it. So that's really the only. It is otherwise, yes, it is.
He's in the PS5 Spider-Man game. Okay,
It's
sorry.
So good. It was such a good game. Those games are great, but I'm obviously a bit of a Spider-Man geek.
I love the story of Spider-Man.
I'm so fucking stoked to see them all tied together. And the whole thing is
That's
about
really cool.
every Spider-Man goes through the moment where they're hated. And I don't remember the other actors' names, but you have one where he gets the black Spider-Man suit, and it's, of course, not the actual symbiote thing. It was the weird... Anyway, so he gets the black suit and goes through the anti-Spider-Man where people hate him. Because it's always that obstacle that a Spider-Man has to come over. Tom Holland has not had that yet. In the end of the last movie, his identity was revealed, and now he's out there, and that's where this one picks up.
You know who my favorite Spider-Man was?
That's interesting. I like this concept.
So fucking excited about it.
I'm very excited about this concept. Really excited.
My favorite Spider-Man was Venom.
So
not Spider-Man? No.
No, well, Venom is related to Spider-Man.
I know it's related, but
there was
not.
one of the old iterations that had Spider-Man as Venom, and then there was the Venom movie with, I don't remember his name.
I don't know his name either, but he's coming back.
Tom Hardy. And is he coming to be in this movie?
Well, he's going to make an appearance in Carnage, because Carnage is also on the slate. That's the other red symbiote. That's a fucking monster. He's evil.
I've been waiting for them to tie Venom into Spider-Man somehow. I guess
they are the same universe.
Yeah, they are.
We are the biggest fucking geeks in Brevard County tonight. You know that.
Not as geeky as this list. There's a segue.
There it is. Oh, by the way, before we get off the movies, Dune.
Is it already out?
No, not yet.
Oh.
The remake of Dune looks... Oh, my...
I've never seen any of the Dune movies, nor do I know anything about them.
That gave me chills. If you like... No, I don't want to piss off an entire group of people.
Who cares?
Of nerds on the internet.
Not
gonna do it. Say it.
Not going to do it.
Off. Piss them off.
Where's your courage?
So it's not as magical as the Force, let's just say. But there is science applied to really cool shit in the Dune universe. It's awesome. You should you're a book reader. You should read the book and then watch the movies.
Yeah, okay.
Or actually, you know what?
That book is fucking huge. Oh, yeah. I may pass on that.
Yeah, it's giant.
I haven't even gotten to Animal Farm yet, and that's like 88 pages.
The original movie is 4 hours and like 40 minutes long. It was a long movie.
Yeah, I've never seen any movie. You know, I know they've been trying to remake this multiple times.
Dune is so cool. All right, anyway, so back to being geeks, Ron. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. Oh, you're not. That's it. You just say back to being geeks.
Tossing up the Segway beach ball back to you again.
That's
on the back. But I guess Ron, you are hosting tonight.
I am hosting tonight, but before I host, Josh, would you like to talk a little bit about where listeners can find us?
Nice. Thank you for the reminder. So first things, to our patrons, thank you very much for supporting the show. Your support means a lot.
New show dropped for them today too, by the way.
Oh, for the after show, you mean?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So for those who are not in the know, our patrons have a special show called The After Show. We record it after this show. We talk a little bit about the list, what brought it to, bullshit a little bit about what's going on in our lives, a little bit more couch talk, a little bit more laid back and less structured than just us focusing on a list and I guess going on hard movie tangents that are unrelated.
Yeah, that's more like what the after show is.
Yeah,
how we started this show.
So we did that on purpose. It was a preview.
It was
totally by design.
It was a
by
plug
design.
for the after show.
Nice.
And thank you to those listening on the live stream. If you're interested in catching the live stream, you can join us on Discord. It's a little chat room where we hang out. It's free. You can sign up for it. You can get the link to that on our website. If you just hit twisted10.com, there'll be a link on the bottom for Discord. Oh, and for Patreon. If you want to check out the after show, if you liked that totally intentional taste that we just gave you, you can find that at patreon.com/twisted10. It's $5 a month, and they get you after shows as they come out 2-3 times a month.
Very cool.
Cool.
Were you just counting your list to make sure you had 10?
No, I was counting.
He was.
I was
Josh,
counting something.
Straight up was?
No, I was counting something on the list. No,
Oh,
I couldn't
okay.
count it all on one page. The list is.
Do you want to borrow my fingers? I can count all the way to 10 with mine.
I was just trying to see if I could count something real quick, but it's not
Ron
that
gets
important.
to 10 and a half.
All right, guys. All right, guys. Here we go.
Half a finger. You got it.
So, I've been doing this show more off than on, but you guys have done this show since, what, 2016? 2017? 2017. probably.
2017 for sure, but I think it was 2016 when the show first started.
Okay.
And I think even the Lost episodes went back earlier than that, 2015, right?
All right.
For Living Podcariously, yes, but
Oh, that's
Twisted
right.
10, we've had all the show. We've included them all.
I was on one or two during the beginning, right? When you
Yes.
guys had Jay Alvarez and stuff like that. And since we've been back, we've done what? 20?
Something like that, yeah.
25? Okay.
Yeah, let's see.
We stopped at 81. We're at 107. So whatever that comes to.
Yeah, so 26.
26?
I have avoided a particular topic just because, I mean, it was out there.
This is not the politics show, is it, Josh?
No, God, no. We're never. I thought we discussed we were never doing a politics show.
All I have to do is just take his mic down. We don't have to listen to this politics Twisted 10.
It is not a politics Twisted 10.
Let me turn you back up.
So I've avoided this topic because it's one of my favorite subjects, and it's a lot of. Number one, once I do it, it's done. It's over. It's really not going to do multiple shows on this topic. Number
Strippers.
one. And number two, it's a lot of pressure to do it right. I've attempted it a few times to try and figure out how do I arrange this
He is
list.
building this up.
I know.
This
This is only a build up for me and for us. Like everybody else is going to be like, what?
Where's that THX? Yeah, for the
Delete.
listeners, you already know what this is, but Josh has
Yeah,
no idea.
the
Where's that
listeners know.
THX movie intro?
All right. So,
Horrible sound effect, Adam.
yeah, that was awesome.
Ron, edit that out.
Do you want me to, Faru?
No, okay,
No,
I
I
don't
won't.
care.
But this is the top 10, Ron's top 10, which all of
Sure.
our lists are top 10.
Yeah, they're all personal.
Most
unless
interesting,
they're wrong.
unless they're wrong. Most interesting, and then they're Josh's. And most interesting facts about extinct human species.
Oh, okay.
You knew I was finally going to touch it, right?
That's exciting.
Huge dork about
No, dude, I love
human
science shows.
evolution. Huge dork about human evolution. For anyone who doesn't know, listening to the show, I've been super into this subject years and years, for years now, because my first exposure to it was a book called, and I have to remember, The Brief History of Nearly Everything, Bill Bryson. Now, Bill Bryson, which is, gotta give him credit, amazing, one of the most amazing science, it is a history of science from beginning to end. Bill Bryson is not a scientist. He's just awesome at researching the shit out of something and writing about it.
Sure, yeah. I would probably agree with that.
So my first that was really my first introduction into like being interested in science and also this particular subject. For whatever reason, there's like one chapter, part of a chapter on this particular subject, and that was, you know, before that I knew obviously there's Homo sapiens. I knew we were called Homo sapiens, and I'd heard of cavemen and Neanderthals. That like literally. So for those people, and if that is your extent of knowledge on this subject, this is the show for you. Because I'm not going to get too super deep. I'm just going to do a nice high level touch on some interesting facts about humans that existed before and during the time of Homo sapiens.
Sweet. Is there a twist to this? Are we going to get any...
There's a twist. I can't tell you what it is until
that's fair.
after. However, here's the best part about the twist. The twist was accidentally put in and written for me.
Really?
Yes. And you'll
Control C, Control V wrong or something?
no, not like logistically. Like it was the twist was already out there. I put it in there, not thinking I had a twist, and said, "Holy shit, that one's the twist."
Okay, cool.
It goes right in line with our normal, kind of our normal paradigm of how we do twists
All right, cool.
for the most part. So I didn't even realize it until the drive over here today. That I had done it.
damn.
As I was thinking about the list, I was like, "Oh damn, I don't have a twist." Didn't really have room for like. I didn't want to waste one. You know what I mean?
waste it.
I didn't want to waste one, and then I realized, wait a minute, there is a twist though.
Well, I got to tell
Nice.
you, Ron, I am the Homo sapien, caveman, Neanderthal target audience that you're talking about.
Are you? Interesting.
I am. I mean, I shouldn't say that. You've, of course, talked about it on the show. I'm not surprised to find out that there are other variations of human through history, but I don't know any of them.
Are
That's
these
cool.
how far back in evolution are you going? Are these all Homo?
No,
dot, dot, dot?
I'm going back. Let's say 4 million years. Could be further. We don't know for sure. 4 to 8 million years ago.
Okay.
I will touch on that. I won't spend a ton of time.
Sure.
on that,
Yeah.
But I will
True
touch.
nature of the Twisted Tin. Probably
Yeah.
any of these
Are
could have their
mostly-
own show behind them. So
it'd be now that would probably be a little bit boring for most people. I'm trying to make this interesting, trying just to kind of give a little bit of knowledge that hey,
we'll
did you
be the
guys-
judges of that.
Oh, I guess.
Whether or not it's interesting.
I know. You and all the listeners, that,
four of 'em,
that
yeah,
still
still.
that at this point are still staying with us.
Yeah.
The ones who haven't said, I'm gonna go listen to the T.S. Madison show again.
The listeners of our show, I think something, probably a disclaimer should be said at some point. If you're basing your science experience in life on the information you get out of the Twisted Tin, and you're not here because of our personalities, I hate to tell you this, but we may not be your holy resource for
Yeah.
all things that are science. I think our listeners
I
understand
agree.
that. I don't think they're here to get educated. Maybe a little bit.
yeah, they're gonna get a little educated tonight, and
Yeah.
do my damnedest. I have done my damnedest to make sure I'm giving factual information as it's known today.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
I'm
So,
looking forward to this.
You
This is
guys
gonna be
ready?
fun.
gonna be
So,
Take me down this
As a little-
no.
prologue, if you had to describe, Adam, I've heard you describe evolution pretty accurately, so I'm going to throw you a little softball there. If you had to describe evolution in general, how does evolution happen? Why does evolution happen?
I gotta stand up in front of the room or something, Ron? What the fuck, man?
This isn't a trick question. I've heard you describe it before, so I'm just giving you the opportunity to kind of.
So it is natural selection at its absolute core. Mutations that could occur within families or genuses or species of any kind of organism, be it any kind of organic or biological organism, to better its ability to survive the environment is evolution. It could be the smallest little change, the color of a butterfly's wing, to the largest of a change, getting gills and being able to breathe underwater, or vice versa, losing it and being able to breathe air. It could be any of those vast changes, and it could be over the time frame of a month or 100 million years. It all is evolution. That's how animals or biological creatures evolve to survive.
Awesome. Perfect. That what you know, Josh? Does that sound good to you?
Oh, you go to me first. You guys gotta get on.
I'm just curious if he agrees or if he had a different opinion or wanted to add anything to that.
I completely agree. I'll only add to it that we also, as humans, have taken on, I guess we're not the only animals that do it, but selectively breed things as well. We mutated wolves into
Dogs,
as we
like
know them.
50 to 70,000 years
That's what
ago,
I'm saying,
somewhere in
yeah.
that range.
So we
That's the original GMO.
yeah, you're right.
we are the original GMOers.
Yes, we
Yep.
are.
So the same thing with even like food. Like, oh look, this cauliflower is doing really well versus this one. Chuck that one. I make more of the one that does well that crop. So there's also just, in addition to natural selection, like Adam described, there's also selective breeding or directed selection.
Okay.
That's the right word.
Forced mutation, too, though, in labs is also a form of evolution. Granted, it's not natural evolution, but it is evolution. So if you forcibly mutate something and get a different product out of it, well, you have evolved.
It's unnatural selection. I mean, in essence.
That's right.
So that's what it is. All right. So I just kind of wanted to give a little prologue of evolution. And then another thing I'd like to add, when it comes to the evolution of humans, a big I guess, a big factor is separation. So you didn't have, in a lot of ways, people weren't traveling across the world, cross country even. They were most humans or hominids. Yeah, Nami. Okay.
Maybe a little bit of migrations, but not,
there
not
are
much.
some. There are some migrations, but for the most part, there would be enough time of isolation that would allow the different species to actually form to where they were completely different species.
Gotcha.
Over the years. So it's also important too, but definitely migration for sure. All right, so are you guys ready to get into this?
Let's get into this.
Top 10 interesting
Very
facts
ready.
about extinct humans and hominids. All right, so number 10, look at the big brains on Brad. Guys recognize that line? Okay. I wrote that in there. Okay.
Big brain sumper. What's it from?
It's Pulp Fiction. When he's talking about the metric system, he goes, he's talking about John Travolta. I don't remember his character had just spent time telling Samuel L. Jackson about what he did in Amsterdam and how, they didn't have a quarter pound of cheese, it was Royale with cheese. So then he uses that on, I actually know the actor's name, but I forgot his name. As he's, fucking with him. And he says, it's a Royale with cheese. You know why they call that? You know why they call it that? And the guy's like, oh, the metric system. And he goes, look at the big brains on Brad. That's right, the metric system. He's saying that, something he had just learned like 10 minutes ago. Anyway, Frank Wiley. That's the actor's name. That was...
Man, you pull these out of your ass, dude. I would never have guessed Frank Wiley. I don't even know who Frank Wiley is.
Yeah, he's a little bit lesser known actor, but anyway, he's been in some stuff here and there. You recognize him and realize, oh shit, he's still in stuff. He just looks way older. But okay, so look at the big brains on Brad. Number 10. Early transitional humans had brains that on average were about 35% larger than those of Australopithecus africanus. Don't worry about what that is. I'll explain later, but you'll be familiar. In fact, it is beginning with Homo habilis that our ancestors finally had brains that were consistently bigger than those of the great apes. Dr. Varkey and his team of geneticists at the University of California, San Diego campus have discovered a small genetic difference between humans and apes that may account for the progressive increase in the size of human brains. People, but not apes, have a gene that stops the production of N-glycoloramine. I'm sorry, butchering that acid. Using molecular clock analysis, the UCSD researchers determined that this gene entered the human evolutionary line as a result of a mutation 2.7 million years ago. While it is presumed that the Australopithecus lacked this gene, there is no direct evidence.
Interesting.
So we talk about the...
So our brains got bigger because we mutated.
Which went right into what you said. You mentioned mutation. Mutation is like the most important part of evolution. If there's no mutation, you have no evolution. You just stay the same.
That poor first kid, though. Do you think they made fun of him? Look at big brain Brad over there. What's going on with that big old head there, Brad?
Probably not. Plus, obviously these are gradual changes, so I don't know that all of a sudden one dude all of a sudden had like a huge head. I guess it's possible. A bigger brain.
I say it would have to have been slow. If an animal was born with a giant head, it would be outcasted. Right?
Or worshipped.
Formed. Yeah, but we're going back far enough that they didn't have
we're
that
going
level of
back to
intelligence,
millions
right?
of years.
That's a good point.
So, yeah.
Man, you don't know them. Don't judge them.
That's true. I won't. So that was
probably
number
had
10.
religion.
I made that as number 10, obviously, because I just wanted to talk about, what happened all of a sudden that you had apes, and then all of a sudden you started having, humans, if you will, or people, or this next one.
Well, before you go to the next one, does your list touch on the... So there is a debate, even though this is not a political topic, there is politics that is sewn into everything in our lives now. There is a constant debate of evolution versus creation theory. Does your list touch any of that, or is this pure
zero touching
facts and science?
Yeah, zero touching anything like that.
Okay, good. So for the people that out there might have problems with the evolution, the science behind evolution, we recognize the debate. We recognize that, but we're just going to focus on the science.
It is possible. I mean, believe it or not, it is possible for both to actually be true. I mean,
It's very
I mean,
reasonable
yeah, it's reasonable
that they're
that
both true.
I guess it's reasonable that if creationism is true, it doesn't mean that none of the things that we're talking about here are not. I guess is what I mean to say. Right?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Makes sense? Okay. All
Very
right.
well put.
So number 9, Lucy, I'm Home. Anybody familiar with Lucy?
The horrible movie in 2018.
No, not the Scarlett Johansson movie about.
Only
Yes.
only that those remains exist, but I don't know anything about them.
Okay, so Lucy was known as Australopithecus afarensis. All right, so there's a lot of, and we're going to talk about a little bit later, in a little bit. There's a lot of, genus, I might be butchering that, genus. Of hominids. So Australopithecus, Homo, like us, Homo sapiens, and then the different species that we are. And there's others as well. The big ones are Australopithecus and Homo. So the Australopithecus, it's like, okay, you're not, like Lucy, she's not an ape per se as we know it, because she can walk on 2 feet.
And has a larger brain.
She doesn't really have a larger brain.
Oh.
Homo has a larger brain. Australopithecus
Australopithecus is the
more
different. Yeah.
it's bipedal, so it's human, or in that regard, but no big brain. And Lucy, which was more known as a tree dweller. So what makes this fossil was discovered in 1974. And what made this fossil such a find was, number one, how preserved it was. Extremely well preserved, most of it visible. And then secondly, it was just, we didn't really when people are always trying to figure out the missing link, if you will.
Yep.
It's like Lucy, and a lot of things can say the link. I've read books called The Link. I've read books about missing links. I've seen 1,000 theories about what they consider the missing link. In my mind,
I played a video game called Zelda that had a link in it.
Yeah, there you go. My opinion, it makes sense that Lucy is kind of that missing link. All right,
But if
at
it's
least
a different
for what we found, at least she's the one that's like, okay, she's not an ape per se. She is, but then she walks on.
I'd almost say that Lucy was a different road not taken. So evolution decided not to choose the Australopithecus, that evolution and nature decided to choose Homo as being the species that was going to continue to evolve.
But Homo had that, when we learned in number 10, Homo had that change of the bigger brain.
So
that
did it
probably came from a gene mutation
Let me ask
somewhere
this,
along the way.
does it start, let's say, they start at our ape ancestry,
Yes.
move into Australopithecus next, and then move into Homo? Or is it
Yes.
the ape
I would
and then
say-
a split to Homo and Australopithecus?
I would say yes. It's not likely. Again, I'm saying this as
We're gonna
I'm
say
almost-
Homo a lot
I'm almost-
tonight, I'm
Yeah, we are
sorry.
going to say. I'm almost saying this like I'm lecturing. Okay, first of all, I want to state there are people that know this subject 50,000 times better than I do. I know it from a layman's perspective because I've read it a million times. So sometimes I am going to actually give an opinion because I've read so many different things from smart people that don't agree.
Dude, don't discredit yourself too much. We
You know what I
understand
mean?
a lot of that self-education. For the listeners out there that don't know this, Ron studied every piece of material that was available to him at Books A Million when he managed the store. So he has more
an
education
ass.
on this topic than most people do. Even there are the scholars that are out there. So don't discredit yourself too much.
Anyway, I don't mean to lecture and just give my opinion, but my opinion is I would consider this a missing link.
Sure.
In a way that, okay, but what was your question, though? You had asked a question.
My question is, if you started at the ape family, and then is it to Lucy and then to us, or is it a split? Is it the ape went to Australopithecus as a mutation and also Homo as a mutation, or did it go from ape to Australopithecus Lucy and then to Homos as we have them classified now?
It would seem Australopithecus and then to Homo, but just based off the fossil records and the fact that most of the Australopithecus and other genuses that are not Homo. God, it sounds. I'm trying not to be.
That's okay.
So the other species that are not Homos are not as old. Like most of these fossils from Australopithecus, like this one's 3.2 million. Yes, there are Homo species that were like 2 million years ago. So, I mean, still the older ones, the Australopithecus, and they're more ape-like. They don't have the bigger brains. They were tree dwellers, yet could walk on 2 feet. So really, that was the mutation, right? Most likely. That
Yeah,
was the
most
mutation.
likely, yeah.
That was the advantage, is that they could walk on 2 feet. But the land back then, like Africa, isn't like it, wasn't open plains, and definitely isn't like it is
Deserts,
now.
yeah.
It's, it was nothing but trees and forests, etc. Millions and millions of
Cliffs
years ago.
and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like I said, Lucy, the big thing was, and when she was found in 1974, just the specimen itself was really awesome. Just rare to find that good of a specimen that old. And then obviously what it meant, that kind of bridge or missing link.
That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, the 3D renderings of Lucy are really fascinating.
Oh yeah, that's been.
It looks like something out of a who wrote the latest version of what's the show where the fucking apes take over and become humanoid?
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes. Thank you.
Yeah,
that was a stretch.
Except she's like little. She's really small.
Yeah, she's small. She's got like partially human features, partially ape features. It's really
She looks a lot more.
interesting.
The renderings, is that the word?
Sure, yeah.
Of her look a lot more ape than they look, or monkey than they look.
It's cool. It's cool to see though.
Human for sure, but yeah, definitely. So had to put her
I'd do
on there.
She's all right looking. Just saying.
There's actually a book for those that are interested in this subject. It's called. I read it years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. It's called Seven Skeletons. It's by Lydia Payne.
7 skeletons.
7 skeletons,
6
and it's a
skeletons.
nice, and it's really just about the 7 biggest discoveries of paleoanthropology, like the 7 biggest, or it's almost like the 7 most famous skeletons, almost written like, not like a paleoanthropology book, but almost like a biography. Who found them, where they were found, what they meant, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? It was it was an interesting book if you're into human evolution.
Sweet.
And I know a lot of people are into evolution, but, mostly people think, oh, I'm into evolution. I like dinosaurs. You know what I mean? And I think Megalodon.
Dinosaurs are just today's chickens.
Yeah, and I like Megalodon. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where it ends. And then people are like, yeah, and Neanderthals, and that's it. So I hope that people are going to just kind of take this, like, oh, that's some interesting stuff I didn't know that was, and maybe they'll remember a little bit of it. Maybe they won't. All right, so I'm going to get into number 3.
Wait, nope, we're not there
No,
yet.
not number 3. Sorry,
Number 7?
Number 8.
Number 8? 10, 9, 8, yes.
Yeah, number 8. Really, number 8 isn't a subject as much as a list. Now, I'm not going to read the entire list, but there are, and when you were making fun of me, are you counting your list? I was trying to count on here how many different genus and species of hominids
So we have a list within a list?
Yeah, and it's too long and wordy to go through, but I'm just going to give you some of them.
Nice.
So you got Ardipithecus ramidus, which is like a genus even a little bit before the Australopithecus.
All right, Josh, if you hear anything that says Ronicus, that's his made-up one, okay?
Australopithecus ronicus, I like that. You got Australopithecus anamensis. I'm not familiar with that one. Australopithecus afarensis, that's Lucy. Australopithecus gari. And then you had some new genuses that have popped up even in, say, for like the last 5 years. Kenyathropus. Can you do it?
Oh, come on.
No, I swear it's right here. Come look.
Come on.
Kenyathropus. Playtops. I could click on it and see what it was.
Those are Playboy bunnies. They have playtops.
So it sounds like a fish.
You got Australopithecus africanus, Australopithecus acetiba.
Wait, Australopithecus africanus. Isn't that what Lucy? What's Lucy?
She was africanus, and then there's afarensis too.
Ah,
It's
okay.
2 different ones. They're similar. You got Paranthropus, which is another genus. A couple different ones like Robustus. Now you got a ton of homos.
Do you have any features like what would be the different mutation for those different ones? Is that
What do you mean? Did I mention any feature? Now,
Yeah.
like most of these older ones look like they look a lot more ape-like than
Sure.
human-like. It's the homo ones, like the older homo, more aged. I don't know maybe older is the word.
Older makes sense to me.
Older, I guess. Homo ones that look more like humans, but with like a caveman face.
Yeah, those
you know what
very,
I mean?
very
Really
projected
big bridge.
brows.
Exactly. So I will
Like
name,
they don't have to wear a baseball cap because they've got a built-in brow that's 3 inches out. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
and then you get into the Homo. You have 12 different ones. They've even added some more recently. Homo habilis, Homo rudolfensis, obviously Homo sapien, Homo.
These are fun. Homo rudolfensis. He used to. It's a breed. Never mind. I can't do it. I'm not doing it. I'm not making fun of Rudy Giuliani. It was too easy. It was there. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
Homo.
Lots of hair dye.
Homo
something.
naledi. That's a newer one that they found in the last 10 years. Homo florensius.
Yeah,
We've talked
we
about
know
that
about that
one before. There's a bunch of them. So bottom line, number 8 is there's like 25 different
Specifically
species.
Homo species?
Well,
or no,
not
all
just
of
Homo.
them all
No, there's
together?
12 different
Okay.
Homo species right now, but there's 20 plus total, 25 plus total of hominids. So either Australopithecus or what have you, or Homo, kind of all
So
combined.
to say, if you start at remember that image where you
Yes.
show a monkey walking?
Yeah,
or an
you show
ape
a monkey walking into a human.
and then 5 steps later it's a man. Well, what really happened? That was one particular path that made it to man. There was a
Yeah.
bunch of these other little these little things that went off that just are done.
There was one particular path that went from an ape to a Homo sapien, to us. The fact is, we just don't have enough fossil record to truly know what that is.
Gotcha.
But we'll get into that a little bit. I touch on that some. But
Okay.
So-
we just don't know what. Oh, it went from an ape to a Homo afarensis to Homo erectus
Surprised
to
that our-
Homo. I'm
surprised our DNA wouldn't
to
have
Homo
that.
sapien. They just.
I'm surprised our DNA wouldn't have that record, those similarity traits that we could map back in DNA to those other.
We don't have DNA. We haven't been able to capture actual DNA from
I guess that's a good point.
most of these fossils because they're just way too old.
Even though we've unmapped the entire human genome string,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean we know what every little mechanism in there
I know.
means.
Last I
Okay.
heard, the first one we ever did was Homo neanderthalis. Sorry, that sounds so bad. Neanderthals.
Yeah.
We know that we did map that DNA, so that's how you're able to go on to what some of those. Let me
Like Ancestry or something?
Ancestry.com, and I guess you pay the extra and find out how much Neanderthal you have in you.
We learned on this show the last time we talked about this about 3 months ago that the proper, maybe it was before the
Neanderthal.
the kids, Neanderthal and Neanderthal are both scientifically acceptable.
Yeah, I hear like a lot of the stuff I've listened to. I hear them say Neanderthal. I got into a habit of saying Neanderthal a lot, but then it sounds fucking like
It sounds pretentious, yeah.
sounds pretentious as shit. So
look at this fucking guy over here.
Neanderthal.
Not pronouncing his H's.
So so I say Neanderthal, even though I have to think about that, not say Neanderthal. If I was talking to like real paleoanthropologists, I would say Neanderthal and not think twice about it. But I've never actually spoken with any before.
So I have a question that's been prompted.
Okay.
Are there more than one species of human alive today?
No.
So Homo sapien in total
That's
across
it.
the planet.
That's it. And
Cool.
it's been that way. You could say, and I'll touch on this list. You could
Okay,
say
I don't wanna get ahead of you.
No, you're not getting ahead. It's like 14,000 years ago or less.
That's very recent.
One of the numbers I'll talk about, the or less. It is very recent in the.
There actually are still
In the-
other ones. They're just in the hollow earth, Josh.
It may be, and unless there's somewhere we haven't found them or seen them.
It's easy to have to branch into like an ugly race thing, but like as I'm sitting in a room with a 6'2" white guy, and I know a 4'11" Indian guy. Like I could be willing to accept that there is at least some genetically recognized difference. I don't.
Oh, variations within our
yeah.
Homo sapiens species?
Yeah.
It's not enough to be considered a different species.
Cool.
There have been known to be some very well, we'll get into it.
Okay.
I don't know what you're gonna say.
Okay.
We'll talk, and anything we don't get into, we'll like touch on at the end. So, okay. So number 7, Homo
7.
erectus,
Yeah.
upright man. So I just mentioning this one because it's considered one of those kind of links to Homo sapiens, and it was just it lived a super long time and did some cool shit. So, meaning upright man, Homo erectus, meaning upright man, is an extinct species of archaic human from the Paleocene, with its earliest occurrence about 2 million years ago, so about a million plus after Lucy. And its specimens are among the first recognizable members of the genus Homo. Homo erectus was the first human ancestor to spread throughout the Old World, having a distribution in Eurasia, extending from the Iberian Peninsula to Java. African populations of Homo erectus are likely to be the ancestors of several human species, such as Homo heidelbergensis and Homo antecessor, with the former generally considered to have been the ancestor to Neanderthals and Denisovans, and sometimes also modern humans. Also, Asian populations of Homo erectus may be the ancestral to Homo florensis. That's the ones that lived in the Indonesian islands like 14,000 years ago. They're called Hobbit Man. They were like little little people. I've talked about it.
You have talked about them.
Yeah.
Found their,
and when I think we were talking about Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and I think I brought up Hobbit Man.
Makes sense.
The time of the disappearance of Homo erectus is a matter of contention, like so many things. There are also several proposed subspecies with varying levels of recognition. The last known record of morphologically recognizable Homo erectus are the Solo Man specimens from Java around 117,000 to 108,000 years ago.
Not that long ago.
So Homo
they lasted
erectus
2
lived like
million years ago
almost 2
to
million years. Yeah,
100,000 years ago. Holy shit.
That's just what we know of. Yeah, so
Damn.
they lived a long time, did a lot of cool stuff. I know that they were, and I didn't mention this in here. I know that they built tools. A lot of these species made fire, built tools.
Did one version of the species kill the other version of the species?
We don't know that.
Interesting.
We don't know that.
Homo sapiens might have just destroyed Homo erectus.
I'm going to get into one that could explain the disappearance of several different species here. Actually, so as we move on,
Homo pandemicus.
Homo covidninus,
Homo Highlander.
Highlander.
Nice.
There can only be one.
All right, so now we're at number 6.
Number 6.
Number 6 is the Toba supervolcano.
Oh, okay.
All right, so about 70,000 years ago, a supervolcano in Sumatra, Indonesia. There was a supervolcano in Sumatra, Indonesia. That eruption dropped roughly 6 centimeters of ash. The layer can still be seen on land over all of South Asia, the Indian Ocean, the Arabian Ocean, and the South China Sea. According to the volcanic explosivity index, the Toba eruption scored an 8, which translates to mega colossal. I didn't know volcanoes had like a rate, but I guess it makes sense. Everything else.
That's the size of condoms you get, Josh. They're mega colossal.
Mega colossal Trojans. So obviously, I mean, hurricanes have something and earthquakes have something. So I guess it makes sense that volcanoes do. I just never knew they did. That's 2 orders of magnitude greater than the largest volcanic eruption in historic times of Mount Tambora in Indonesia, which caused the 1816 year without a summer in the northern hemisphere. So
wow.
So it's 2 times greater than anything we've experienced probably in recorded history. Then, and this is more conjectural, based on arguable evidence, an already cool Earth got colder, the world was having an ice age 70,000 years ago, and all that dust hanging in the atmosphere may have bounced warming sunshine back into space. Sam Keene writes, there's in fact evidence that the average temperature dropped 20 plus degrees in some spots, after which the great grassy plains of Africa may have shrunk way back, keeping the small bands of humans small and hungry for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
That's an interesting strategy topic there.
Yeah, I went and grabbed this particular blurb because I remember in one of the books I read over the years that it was mentioned a few times, and some people have argued it, but most of science agrees that studies this, that at some point the human populations, different human species, what have you, many of them were in the thousands left after this supervolcano.
Damn.
That it fucked the world up that much.
So what it sounded like you said bad thing on top of bad thing. They were already in an ice age, which was curtailing the population. Then this mega volcano erupts adding another layer on top of the almost probably snow globe Earth that, you picture in some of those where it's just all ice around the Earth. But what it sounds like to me is that there was a narrow enough band, probably equatorial band around Earth, of hospitable lands for whatever versions of human evolution were around at the time to contend for.
It might have been 5 or 6.
So Halo was real. Just reverse the direction of the halo. See where I was going with that? It was a stretch. I tied in a video game to it somehow.
I'm sure there's people that are into the evolution of animals or extinction of animals or whatever. People who are into that probably have good information on that regard to this super volcano. Obviously, if it affected humans, it didn't, and it didn't just affect humans. It probably sent a lot of animal life, plant life extinct.
It's probably a mass
I just don't have much
extinction
knowledge of that, but definitely, they said definitely, which nothing's definitely, but it seems to be the consensus that we were in possibly the thousands after this happened.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yep. And it would make sense if you think about it. The bigger brains of the big brains, right, were the smarter ones were the ones that were able to adapt.
Makes sense. My skin's not enough. I'm taking all of these animal skins. Fuck this.
Yeah, exactly. Just finding ways to. 70,000 years ago, we were 20,000 years ago from the first farming of our land. Right? If you think about anthropology, just Homo sapien anthropology.
Interesting.
So somewhere in that range, we're 20,000 years. That's a lot of years, but not in the not in the picture of how old the world is.
Yeah,
that's a pretty narrow. If that case holds true, that's a pretty narrow scope for lineages. So everybody ties back to this few thousand ancestors.
Yeah,
one way or another.
Yeah, well, if it was a few thousand, and it could be. It's hard to know, but that's what most of the scientists say.
There's a term talking about genes like that. There is oh my goodness, it's been a long time since I've looked this up. But they have it's like the matriarchal Eve or something, but it's Adam and Eve is what they've been labeled. But what it is, it's not an exact point. It would be very difficult to pinpoint. But there's a point where your genome only goes back so far, where it becomes indistinguishable from the broader genetic line. So, and that's for everybody. Every man alive today, there's one point back in history where we're tied back to, and not to say that is the beginning of humanity.
So pretty much, we're all kind of almost related to each other in a way, is what you're saying. What it finally goes back to, everybody's related to everybody in some fashion.
Certainly, but it's well, I guess not. That means I was unclear. Adam's genetic, the farthest point that Adam's genes are recognizable is different than mine, is different than yours.
Okay.
So it's not, there's just a point where it becomes just kind of noise, and just the human genome at that point, it just becomes the normal and indistinguishable.
So many hops back. So your genetic chain can take you 100,000 hops back. Ron's will take him 100,000 hops back, but his hops might be different than yours.
Exactly.
So it's the quantity of hops backwards that you're going to go to trace down the...
And there's only so far back you can go where it's just not... Okay, that makes sense. Well, guys, that was number 6.
Dude, I'm loving this fucking list.
This is fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. I hope it's not too wordy, techy. There's a lot of these species or names and these genuses are just oh my god.
I am very proud of us,
sound all
boys.
the same.
We haven't really giggled at the 12-year-old in all of us
saying homo 100 times.
I know it's insensitive, but guess what? It's also, it's childish.
Yeah. It's childish,
immature.
More than anything. Yeah.
How dare you, Ron?
I know.
Let's get a break. All right, we'll be right back.
Oh,
all right.
Man.
Try if you have to, but you can't survive if they will let you. Will you hide away in a bedroom normally just what you used to. Oh, so you're putting some pictures, trying to make it a home, but it's a homely home if you're eating alone. You find yourself waiting on the ring of the phone, swearing to yourself that you're finding your own. Searching for your direction, but though you're reaching out to someone, only see your own reflection. Oh, still a putting no pictures, trying to make it a home, but it's a homely home if you're sleeping alone. You find yourself waiting on the ring of the phone, and swearing to yourself that you're finding your own. Come on. Such a lonely world, a world of inequality. Are we searching for a cure? Are we choosing to ignore? We're seeing more, hey, misery. So I'm a Branson. No, I've never been a man for gambling. Only I decide my fate. No, I'm sure nothing will ever change. Oh, so I'm taking down the pictures of my so-called home, where I was sure I would spend my whole life alone. Ain't nobody on the other end of the phone, but my misery is slowly turning into a song. Yeah. Oh, it's such a lonely world, a world of inequality. Well, are we searching for a cure? Well, are we choosing to ignore? We're seeing more, hey, misery.
Okay. All right, everybody. Welcome back, I think, to the Twisted 10. Right now we're talking about Ron's list. That's me. And we're talking about top 10 most interesting facts about extinct human species. And actually even, and I mentioned this off mic, that's actually a real shitty name for this. If I was talking about human species, I would really actually only be talking about Homo. Those are the actually only ones considered human. So you can really get dorky with it and say hominin. So also known, like I've heard people say hominid, but hominin species, which include the Australopithecus and other genuses.
With an N?
Is that literally
hominin?
Is that literally what defines human? I guess I've never even thought to look it up.
When you call something a human, it needs to be of the Homo species or a Homo.
Is it Homo
genus.
sapien?
Homo sapien is a human?
Well, no, I know that. Is it only explicitly associated with Homo sapiens?
any Homo species.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So Neanderthal, that's considered a human, but Lucy's not considered a human. She's considered a hominin.
Hominin.
See?
Hominin.
I've said hominid my whole life.
Hominin.
And I had no idea it
I've looked up
the...
hominid versus hominin, and I don't even really remember the difference, or if one kind of changed the other, or one was just kind of a... And maybe we could look that up if you wanted to. It's not that big a deal, I guess. But anyway.
The difference is 9 letters.
Yeah.
D to N, I mean.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I like it. So I will recap the first 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 10, I said look at the big brains on Brad, where we spoke to the enlarging of brains of
Specifically
humans.
between Australopithecus and
Homo
erectus.
who has the bigger brains, who doesn't, When did that
Gotcha.
happen?
Okay.
Why? A little bit like that. And then number 9 spoke about Lucy, which was the 3.2 million year fossil found. Not a big brain, but walked on 2 feet. Tree dweller. Number 8, I just listed a shit ton of hominin species. Actually says right there, hominin. But not all of them, because that would get a little crazy. And then number 7, I talked about Homo erectus, upright man. Lived a couple million years, all the way up to just over 100,000 years ago. And then number 6, I spoke about the Toba supervolcano from 70,000 years ago. So whenever I think about that, I instantly think about the Earth has experienced a supervolcano eruption like every, I don't know, 60, 65, 70,000
Yeah, are we like
years.
overdue for one?
We are in Yellowstone, bro. Yellowstone. Shit makes me nervous. We will be fucked if that shit erupts.
Oh yeah.
Like
a third of the United States is going to be gone.
Well, yeah, probably, and it just covered in ash and rock, and I mean, I can't imagine. I don't want to think about it, but I mean, what could we do to stop it? I don't know
Absolutely
much.
nothing.
And we get some fucking.
There's no science that you can apply to something as big as a supervolcano.
Can't get wasn't
right?
there a movie
am I-
Deep Impact where they went into the core and did some shit? I don't remember what it was for, but why they
Yeah,
did that.
Weren't they trying to reignite or
Get some
get the Earth's core spinning again or something?
The core is the movie you're referring to. Deep Impact was an asteroid. They went out.
The core. Sorry,
core,
that,
so
that
yeah.
was the movie. So,
But they restarted.
I fucked that one up.
It's okay. Don't waste your time. I mean, it's got some cool. Nope, not even that.
I think I saw
It's
it.
not
I just
good.
don't remember enjoying it.
The acting's bad. The plot is stolen, of course. It's been redone 1,000 times to 1,000 different books, I'm sure, but it's just not that
Journey to the
good
Center
of
of
a-
the Earth.
Yeah, it's
movie.
That's
with
cool.
what's his name with
Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser.
See,
That was decent.
I didn't like
Almost
that movie. I like the original one with James Mason. Yeah, I am fucking. That shit was like from the 50s. I'm an idiot. Whatnot. But anytime I think about that supervolcano Toba, right? I think about, oh boy. Yeah, if that shit happened now, what?
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're
it's
in
gonna
trouble.
be. Yeah, it's going to be.
We're
Human.
in
We
trouble.
wouldn't have as much problems as obviously one of these ancient species of hominin. Hominin. I was close.
Hominin or homo. Or,
But we would certainly have a devastating effect. It would certainly be a catastrophe. It would be, catastrophic event. It wouldn't be an Ellie, an extinction level event, but it would be pretty bad. There'd be a lot of lives lost and a lot of difficulties for the next 2 or 3 generations of our children. It's
yeah,
gonna be rough.
especially in the U.S.
Yeah, for sure.
bet
U.S., Canada.
Yeah.
So I was gonna make a joke. I decided to censor it.
Oh, okay, good idea.
Yeah, it's not a good one.
No censorship. Come on, let it free. Fly free. This is a free speech show.
However, I censored it against our politics rule. So
Oh,
Okay.
Thank
it's
you.
not.
I
like,
did that once.
It's not. It's not bad. It wasn't like distasteful. Just
I did that once too.
Okay, so that was the first 5 or 10 through 6.
Cool.
Let's start with number 5.
Number
5.
five. Oh yeah.
Which species did Homo sapiens come from? Our species are called Homo sapiens, and we are thought to have evolved around 315,000 years ago in Africa. I've actually seen some fossil stuff that, and this that I pulled this from, that number I pulled from, and I couldn't tell you because I looked at so many different things. That $315,000 year number is actually kind of an old number. I've seen some things now where they think they believe they have dated some Homo sapien remains like just over 400,000 years or more, but somewhere in that range, it still seems the
Interesting.
consensus is a little over 300,000 years. It seems to be what most people are still sticking with. So I'm going to guess maybe that didn't stick, or
so that would be it means an overlap then between Homo erectus and Homo sapien, right?
oh, I'll get into that
sorry.
later.
I'm
No,
sorry.
you're good. You're good. That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. I was curious about that myself, so I did some research on that a little later on.
All right.
Let's see, 315,000 years ago in Africa, for some time, modern humans and archaic humans, other early species of human that did not survive, like the Neanderthals, who died out 30,000 years ago, lived on the earth at the same time, often in the same places. One theory suggests that Homo split I'm sorry. One theory suggests that Homo heidelbergensis, a sort of transitional human species between the ancient and the modern, immigrated out of Africa 300,000 years ago and split. Those that would become Neanderthals went to what is now Europe and parts of Western Asia, while those to be Denisovans or Denisovans, something like that, who were only discovered as a species in 2008, headed mostly into Asia. The ones who stayed behind is actually what became Homo sapiens and left Africa 60,000 years ago. The theory goes, bunch of theories on what actually became, Homo sapiens. But what this is saying, just so there was Homo heidelbergensis.
Yes.
And then
by the way, that name, that makes somebody sound pretentious. You saying Neanderthal versus Thal doesn't make you sound pretentious. Naming a discovery of an entire species or genus in this chain after your own name, that makes you sound. Heidelberg, I assume, is a scientist that discovered the Heidelbergensis.
Probably. When I say it, I think of Heisenberg from Breaking Bad.
That was my mnemonic device too.
Yeah, it sticks in my head. So Homo heidelbergensis in Africa, they move out into Europe, move out into Asia. We talked about the separation from each other for so long, so much interspecies, they become different species. So then you have Neanderthals, and then you have Denisovans, which I'm probably saying wrong, and then the Heidelbergensis that stayed in Africa actually formed into Homo sapiens. That's what this theory says.
Interesting. Okay.
So there's a ton of different theories about a ton of different ways that Homo sapiens happened, but it seems Homo sapien definitely happened in Africa. Like that's the origins of Homo sapiens. So it came from one of the species that was in Africa.
Cool.
And there you have it. So there you go. So that was number 5.
Nice.
Number 4, we're going to talk a little bit about Neanderthals. It says Neanderthals, also Neanderthals, or Homo neanderthalensis, or Homo sapien neanderthalensis.
Whoa, hang on a minute.
Yeah, I know. I didn't dig deep into that, but I'm sorry to disappoint.
Oh, okay.
It was just like, okay, I can't go down that rabbit hole. It's just too much. Why it's called Homo sapien neanderthalensis, that would be like a whole other number that I didn't do. Are an extinct, we think. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, the twist is, here's a Neanderthal. He's coming down the stairs now. He's not extinct. Okay. Are an extinct species or subspecies of archaic humans. That's the second time I'd seen that expression, archaic humans, I guess meaning extinct human or Homo species, who lived in Eurasia until about 40,000 years ago. Now, interesting, I had read something earlier that said 30,000 years ago, so clearly we don't have an exact number.
Yeah.
They most likely went extinct due to great climate change, disease, or a combination of these factors. It is unclear, COVID-1, it is unclear when Neanderthals split from modern humans. Studies have produced various intervals ranging from 350,000 to more than 800,000 years ago. The time of divergence of Neanderthals from their ancestor Heidelbergensis is also unclear. The oldest potential Neanderthal bones are dated to 430,000 years ago, but the classification is uncertain. Neanderthals are known from numerous fossils, especially from after 130,000 years ago. The type specimen Neanderthal 1 was found in 1856 in the German Neander Valley. After much debate over their validity, Neanderthals were depicted as being primitive, stupid, and brutish for much of the early 20th century, although knowledge and perception of them has markedly changed since then in the scientific community. The image of the unevolved caveman archetype remains prevalent in popular culture. That's why I mention it. When most people think about ancient humans or extinct humans, they think caveman.
Yeah.
And when they think caveman, they're thinking about Neanderthals, which was just one of many, human species.
Variants, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, interesting. This didn't mention it, but I remember a book, and I can't remember if this was actually even the name of the book. There is a gentleman, I really wish I could remember his name. I feel bad. He's written a ton of great books. If you're into paleoanthropology, a ton, and I need to figure out what his name was.
L. Ron Hubbard.
No, went to the cupboard. But he wrote a lot of really good paleoanthropology books. But he wrote one, probably the last one he'll write because he's a lot older. And I believe, I'm trying to remember if it was just part of the story or the name of the book might have been The Strange Case of the Rickety Cossack. And what it was is the explanation of this first Neanderthal 1, which is the first Neanderthal fossil found in 1856, and in the way they tried to explain it away. They tried to explain it away that it was some dude who like he had rickets, so that's why they call him Rickety Cossack, and so he was hurting, so he kept his brow like squinched all the time, and that's why his head looks like that. And his legs are weird because he was always on horseback. It was just this ridiculous, like, this can't be some ancient human. This is some guy who had rickets.
This doesn't fit our religious agenda.
Exactly. So I think that was actually the name of his book, the gentleman's book that I'm speaking about, and the whole thing was just a history of paleoanthropology. Actually, this book wasn't necessarily a book about it. Obviously, it's a book about paleoanthropology, but it was really a book about how they've discovered, from the first discovery of this Neanderthal 1 all the way up to, well, actually before the Homo naledi that was found, 5-6 years ago. The book, I believe, was written a little bit before that, like right before that. Or they may have he mentions it at the end because they had just discovered what they thought was a new one. The book was just really about the discovery of everything because he was actually part of that.
Man, so what your list is telling us is that Mother Nature just kind of said, here is a crapshoot of different versions of the hominin species.
Yes.
Nature, pick your favorite.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. And several go in, only one. It's like the Hunger Games. Really, right? You get put in fucking what? There's 12 districts, 24.
Dude, that would
put 24 in.
That is an SNL skit. You're writing an SNL skit right now. You realize that,
only
don't you?
the Homo sapiens win the Hunger Games, and there you
show
go.
in your. I can already see it. You pan through all your different, warriors. Here are your. Neanderthals. Here are you, and it's your standard average looking cavemen. Here is Australopithecus, and it's this Lucy looking kind of frail but tree, and then here is what's the small people species?
The Homo florensis.
Homo florensis over here, and they're like little guys holding up some swords because they're intelligent. And then it pans over to Homo sapien, and they've got like an AR-15.
Yeah,
like, I'm ready.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
And it's whoever survives progresses on through evolution, and of course we would win as Homo sapiens. I think that'd be funny.
That's kind of like, in a way, what happened. Obviously, we didn't all live at the same time, but I am going to give you. For number 3, a little segue there.
Ooh.
Number 3, I'm going to give you a group of Homo. Okay, I had to laugh at that one. I'm going to give you the Homo species that actually lived all at the same time since Homo sapiens.
All at the same time.
So simultaneously, Homo sapiens plus 8 more. Simultaneously
plus
existed in the world at the same time.
Is it like
Josh asked that question, so he's like, "Wait a minute, some of these there was a couple that existed at the same time." Yeah, actually, 9.
Is it
total.
like a mini game here?
No, I mean you could if you wanted to try and name them all.
Oh, I was just going to go for 1 point for everyone I got right, and likewise for Josh.
Whatever you guys
Homo florensis.
Some of these, Adam, but that's okay.
Well, isn't that the point of knowledge?
Okay, let's see. Yeah,
I don't want to play this game.
Okay, let's do it this. Okay, I'll give you. All right.
No, I don't get a handicap.
No handicap.
All right,
Homo florensis. Okay, let's give Josh a shot now. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Josh.
Homo erectus. Is that in the timeline?
Yes.
Cool.
Boom.
Australopithecus africanus.
Wrong. Okay.
Damn. So 1 and 1 so far.
Yeah.
The Homo Neanderthal.
Yes, Neanderthal. That's okay.
Oh, that was an easy one. I should have grabbed that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's go. You said it just a minute ago. Homo. The scientific name Isis.
That is the scientific name.
What's a guy's name? I made fun of him. Just the last number. The Hodgkinson's. This.
The Heidelbergensis.
Heidelbergensis.
If you had been listening to Heidelbergensis and when I talked about that at all, you would know that is not correct.
Oh.
God.
The teacher just yelled at me.
What
Josh.
about the Homo sapien Neanderthal? Man,
that is Neanderthalis.
That's the alternate
Neanderthalis.
name for them.
Okay, so we've had enough of the game.
Damn it.
Was
Josh
it 2-1?
beat me. Josh won, yeah.
Yes. But you skipped past one of the obvious ones of Neanderthalis. So here are the ones that lived simultaneously with Homo sapiens. So Homo sapien would be one and 8 others. Homo luzonensis. Now this is a new one I know shit about that supposedly they've discovered from some teeth, and that's like really sparse fossil record
From their teeth?
They'll do that sometimes.
Homo got grillsis.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll actually just use like it's the most. Oh, there's a pinky finger. That's different than every other pinky finger we found. New species. I mean, yeah, I sometimes I think they really stretch it to call things new species.
I would put my name on a species.
Homo.
The Heidelberg guy did.
Yeah, the Heidelberg guy.
I'm gonna make fun of him the rest of the episode.
Florenzius.
Yep.
Homo denosova. Homo neanderthalis. Homo naledi. That's the one they found like 5-6 years ago. Homo erectus. Homo rudolfensis. That's probably another dude that fucking put his name.
You know it.
Or it was the area where it was found. Probably a lot of it could be where it was found and not necessarily who discovered it. Because honestly, and I didn't put this...
Well, move me to Erectus anytime. That sounds like a great place to live.
Yeah. Well, Homo erectus means upright man. That's why they call it that.
So your nomenclature doesn't match there for a location.
No, it doesn't, but I don't know that a lot of these were named by the people who found them because they would almost all be Homo leakinensis because the Leakeys, anybody ever heard of the Leakeys?
Nope.
Super duper famous in the world of fossil hunting, have discovered a shit ton of these.
Oh.
Yeah, they've actually discovered quite a few. So, I don't know which ones I actually tried to find that and make it a number, like the Leakeys. I was going to talk about them a little bit.
Get them on a list.
Which ones
guest.
they've discovered, et cetera, et cetera. But over the years, I mean, they've been doing this since like the early 1900s. They've been digging for fossils. They're fossil hunters.
They're pretty old if they've been doing it
But
since
they're
the
fossil
early
hunters, but
1900s.
they're all scientists. There are fossil hunters that are not scientists. They go out hunting fossils to sell them to museums and make, like, the better the fossil, the more money they're going to make. I mean, there are some fossils that have sold for millions of dollars.
And I'm okay with that. Here's why. Because those that get sold into a museum still get studied.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's the cool part about it. Yeah, they're banking on it, but they aren't doing it they're doing it for the profits, and I got it. That's why we're doing this podcast, for the profits.
Yeah, oh yeah, totally. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe the people who... I mean, it's giving a whole bunch more opportunity for things to be discovered by having a monetary incentive.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
right.
In that case, I'm all for it. Okay, so Homo erectus.
But you get names like Hodgkinson's.
Heidelbergensis.
Heidelbergensis.
So Homo rudolfensis. Offensis, like I'm so offensive by you. And red deer cave people.
What, come again?
Yeah, exactly. I'll get into it. I couldn't just leave it
Red
being red deer
that guy didn't
cave
speak
people. Red deer cave people.
That was discovered by American.
Those were the America. Those were the 8 Homo species that existed at the same time as Homo sapiens.
That's wild.
Yeah. Does that, as somebody who thought of human evolution as there was us and there used to be cavemen and that's it, Josh, like when I say that to you, like what goes through your head?
Well, to fall back on my earlier disclaimer, like I those are just, if you had asked me to name like the stages of what got us here, that's where I would have been. But I'm not surprised per se to hear that there's so many now. I didn't realize there were 9 Homo species at the same time. And of course, I mean, this is spread out over like 100,000 years, right?
300,000
years. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And
though.
in different parts of the world. And,
I mean, some of these you think Neanderthals 30,000 years ago, Florenzius like 14,000 years ago, And then we're going to go into number 2.
Number 2. I still want to hear about these red deer people.
Red deer cave people
nice.
is number 2.
Fuck yeah.
I couldn't put it in there, not like make it one.
You must talk about them.
Yes, red deer cave people are prehistoric, archaic human population. Fossils dated to the Bowling Alurid warming, I guess that's so, between about 14,500 to 11,500 years ago. So more recent than any other human species besides ourselves. Were found in the Red Deer Cave in China and Longland Cave in the Yunnan province in southwest China. The fossils exhibit a mix of archaic and modern features and are tentatively thought to represent a late survival of archaic human species. So it's just like almost everything had been wiped out, then all of a sudden they find these Red Deer Cave people, and they're like, and they date them, like, holy shit, this was only like 11, 12,000 years ago. Who the hell is this? What are they? Or of a hybrid population of Denisovan, I can never pronounce it, hominin, and modern human descent. Or alternatively, just robust early modern humans, probably with affinities to modern Melanesians? Melanesians? I don't know what the hell those are. Evidence shows large deer were cooked in the Red Deer Cave, giving the people their name. So pretty much this is an archaic human species that they feel like they want to name this its own species because it's clearly not Homo sapien. But for whatever reason, and I didn't put a year when this was discovered, but it was a while ago, no one's decided to go ahead and classify Red Deer Cave people, like give it its own Homo Red Deer inferences.
You mentioned in there that there's a theory that these people were a mix between one of the archaic species and more modern species. So as in to say like Homo sapien mingled in with Homo denisovans, you said?
Yeah, well, we know that Homo Denisovan, Homo Neanderthal, at least those and probably more, like crossbred, if you will. Like, we know that happened. So they're thinking this might have been just some other kind of offshoot from some kind of crossbreeding, and that's how they, you know what I mean? It's, I guess, so many of these things they will name as their own species with the littlest of fossil record. I'm really curious to know more, maybe as a dork on this stuff, why they haven't with this. Like, what's the hold up? What's the block from somebody saying, we're just going to call it this?
Probably because the majority, probably because the majority of those species weren't in that part of the world. So it's kind of hard for them to tie some sort of lineage for any of those other ones to those areas in China. So, theoretically, China is so secluded in some parts of those mountains that there could have easily been a tribe of humans or some sort of span or segment of humans
that lived longer than
100% on their own. Yeah. So they had their own evolutionary track, which
again,
like Hawaii
separation,
has.
right? We talked about it multiple times. What do you need for evolution? One of the things you need is the
Himalayas? Is that what Chinese mountain range is? Is it the Himalayas? I know that's in Malaysia somewhere.
Yes. I think those go into China.
So any of those mountains, even if it's not that, if it's some other name that I'm just flaking out on, those are so secluded they could fit that model for you, Ron. You could have had 100,000 years of an evolution in those mountains, and they would have never seen anybody else there because they're so vast and so big.
Tens of thousands, 10, 20, 100,000 years of just them kind of staying in that. They don't really migrate out. Nobody really comes in. I mean, if we could have that now, if let's say all of a sudden we went dystopian.
You want to put up a wall? Oh, damn it, I did it. I did it.
So let's say all of a sudden the world became very dystopian and we lost at least the technology that allows us to travel, right? And everybody just kind of stays within their own little pods everywhere. I mean, in 100, 200, 300,000 years, some chromosomal mutation is going to happen, and you're going to end up with other species of human. You just would. Just now, everything is so intermingled.
Well, we've talked about them before, but the Indian peoples that live on that island off of India, that's totally isolated. That's been isolated for who knows how long.
Yeah,
can't fly there, can't land there. They attack on sight. Anything that comes in.
The only problem with them is they're becoming so popular.
Yeah.
Eventually, popularity will override, and we'll probably kill them off because they've never had vaccinations for polio or never been exposed to a cold like we have a traditional cold, or so what will probably happen is popularity will rise. People will go there, force their way into their society, and we'll kill them because of. They don't have the same kind of immune systems that we do. Or vice versa. Maybe they'll kill us because they got something that humanity has never been exposed to. So, that's scary shit, man. It really is.
Yeah. Interesting. So,
there's this culture like that living on Earth now.
Yeah, perhaps if that culture were to be able to be left alone for 200,000-300,000 years, it would actually be some kind of chromosomal mutation could cause some change in them to where they would actually be their own species. Now, does that change allow them to adapt to their surroundings more, to be smarter, to be bigger, to be quicker, to be faster, or does that change cause something to where they start to die off? These are the different things that could happen, or they can't adapt because they're just secluded, and now they got this new chromosome and they're all stupid. I mean,
Yeah.
over 10, 20,000 years now, they've passed this bad gene or chromosome to each other that isn't a benefit to them.
Sentinelese, by the way. They're called the Sentinelese, also known as the Scintili, and the Northern Sentinel Islanders. They're indigenous people who inhabit North Sentinel Island in the Bay of Bengal in India.
So I wonder how long ago they got there, and how long have they been secluded from everybody?
I'm just going to go to the simplest source to look at so we don't have to wait on me reading. I'm going to Wikipedia, and let's see what it says. The total population there is only 50 to 200, so not enough for a true evolutionary study, probably.
I don't know what it would
how long they
take.
were isolated for.
1964, they took a bunch of drugs and got lost, and they never came back.
Nice.
Well, so it was only officially made a private, unvisitable island in 1956. That's when the India government declared North Sentinel Island as a tribal reserve and prohibited travel within 3 nautical miles.
So we thought that Gilligan's Island was over. Yeah, they stopped filming the show, but they left everybody there, and now there we have them.
That was about the same
Gilligan's
year, too.
Island, yeah, that's what it is. This is just Gilligan's Island, like 50 years later.
I remember Gilligan's Island having an all-Indian cast.
Yeah, definitely.
They're not just Indian, though. They are tribal. I mean...
Tribal Indian?
It is... Yeah, it's... I don't want to say bizarre. Bizarre is the wrong choice of words. It's very...
I guess
that's
they're
subjective,
not,
but
they're not Indian.
So it would probably take some kind of
Sentinelese,
some kind of separation on that on a larger scale, and probably it would need to be something we don't even know about. Like we've never been
different
there,
planet.
never seen it. Yeah, if
Mars might be a
if you
decent
took
study.
enough humans and put them on Mars for a long
100,000
period
years.
enough time for hundreds of thousands of years, and there was no back and forth, which isn't likely. Sure, you could end up with. You're going to end up. If you went to them, like if you went 300,000 years later and decided, I'm going to check out all these people we left on Mars, I guarantee you they would look vastly different. And who knows what that difference would be based off gene mutation over the years. I mean, we just don't. It's impossible to know what they would look like.
They would be a lot taller, I'll tell you that.
Would they?
Yeah.
Why is that? How do you know they wouldn't pass some gene along that made them real short?
I was just talking about the physical environments of the physics inside Mars. So it's a lot lighter. You're about 2/3 your weight on Mars because it's a smaller
Well, they'd be a
planet.
lot lighter then.
Yeah, and they would be a lot skinnier. You wouldn't have as much muscle mass.
One thing's for sure, we're all going to be a lot thinner. Sorry, Star Wars line. Okay, that was number 2, Red
Nice.
Deer Cave people. I had never heard of them, so it was new to me.
We all learned something
I'm
today.
just interested more what the block is of just going ahead and giving it its own species name, but maybe one day I'll dig into it. All right, number 1.
Let me ask this before you go to number 1. Is that like a topic of drama inside?
Absolutely, into the paleoanthropology
I know that's
world.
a peek behind the curtain a little bit.
A peek behind the curtain. Absolutely, they spend time.
That's like the bee's knees gossip right there.
This is definitely a new genus. I'm calling it Pan. And no, fuck you. It's Australopithecus all day. You can't give it its own just because you want us to have a discovery. No, fuck you. It's different. Look at this little pinky toe here. Completely different. Yeah, absolutely. And but isn't that science all day long? We always think about a bunch of people being pragmatic and practical. No, it's a bunch of people busting their ass to prove their theory. And when they feel truly, ethically, that they have nailed it, it's a bunch of other people out there to either prove it completely right or completely wrong. That's all science. It's called the scientific method. It's why science is so fucking awesome and why it's advanced our society so much, because that's how science works. People are trying to be as ethical and factual about their theories, and other people trying to factually and ethically knock the shit out of it down if possible. And if they can't, then in essence, they prove it, and there you go.
Josh, Ron has been in a fight or two on the internet. You can tell, right? You know it.
One
you know
or two.
it about this topic. I mean, not about other topics.
I don't know that I've talked much on this topic. Most people, anytime like on Twitter, maybe some years ago, I talked a little bit about this, and people, I don't know, most people, this isn't a topic of interest or not on the level that I like to talk about it.
Your normal audience that you had on your Twitter account wouldn't have found this interesting, because there's a huge, vast amount of people out there that find this topic fascinating.
I did get to speak on Twitter with the one I told you about, the 7 Skeletons book. Yeah. Lydia Payne. Did get to have like a little conversation with her on Twitter one time. I thought that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Like,
when's she hosting?
I don't know if she's ever hosting, but a few years after I'd read the book, and I only because I added her when I was having a conversation about it and mentioning the book, and I said this book almost reads more like a biography of fossils, and I added her, just because I wanted to look her up and add her, because that's what you do, and she's like, oh, that was a really interesting take on my book. I never thought about it that way. And I was like, wow, it's interesting that you never thought about it that way. And then we were talking a little bit about it.
And Ron thought for like a half an hour, he's like, did I piss her off?
No, I didn't get that feeling at all, because then we instantly started having some conversation. And then I told her something. I got to tell her, I said, I found the most interesting part of your book, this one, number 1.
Oh, what a fucking segue. Dude, hit the bell for that segue. That was the fucking shit.
I can't reach.
It's all good. Serious? Oh, it's the mic. I'm like, dude. Yeah,
I can't reach without making a bunch of noise.
Josh is saying.
Okay. Number 1, Pit Down Man. Anybody ever heard of Pit Down Man?
Was he a rapper in the 90s?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he was in Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang?
Yeah. Pit Down Man. In 1912, a British amateur archaeologist named Charles Dawson wrote to London's Natural Museum claiming to have discovered the missing evolution link between apes and humans in a fossil he had dug up in Pitdown, Sussex.
Oh, okay.
This was the beginning of the Pitdown Man hoax, one of the most successful and consequential hoaxes in scientific history.
Holy shit.
Dawson's Piltdown Man was, sorry, I was mispronouncing his Piltdown Man, was conclusively established as a hoax in 1953. So for 31 years, people thought, this is the missing link. This is it. After decades of leading scientists down the wrong path of evolutionary study. So people were now paleoanthropologists are now basing human evolution off of this hoax. The Piltdown Man was a collection of fossils assumed to be from the same Pleistocene or Paleocene era early human, according to
time frame.
Isabella de Groot, a professor at the Research Center in Evolution Anthropology and Paleoanthropology at Liverpool, John Moores. A little bit more about this. Somebody had taken like an old Homo sapien skull and a dog jaw, and this guy put them together and falsely claimed that he had found this missing link in fucking England, right?
What?
Yes. And for 31 years until I guess
nobody just said, hey, mate, that looks like a dog.
It was 1912.
I don't know why I went Australian.
It was 1912, man. It was 1912.
I thought you said 1950 is when it...
No, it was 1956. 56? No, 53
Is when they debunked
somebody debunked it. They were like,
how did they debunk it? Did they say?
If I
carbon dated
recall, I think it might have been carbon dating. I don't know that they had DNA evidence.
or they just said that's a dog jaw.
So Piltdown Man is the twist, the fake one, right? No, we always like to do a fake one.
That is an interesting way to do a twist.
I did not mean to do that until after I was like, holy shit, number one's the twist. It's our typical, I'm going to throw a fake one in there to see if I can throw you out.
I got to look this up. How do you spell it?
Piltdown, Piltdown man, Piltdown Man. And now he's looking up to see if the fake is a fake.
No, I want to see what they used to see how believable this was.
Yeah, I recall a dog bone.
Oh, all right. It's not that bad.
No, it looks real. Like it wasn't. People weren't like, "What?"
Okay, I expected a full like canine style. All right, so it's not. So Josh, there it is. It's believable enough to where that could pass. Muster
Absolutely.
Initially.
Absolutely, it was a good idea, I guess. If you're just trying to
he must have carved it as well. He had to have carved it to fit.
I don't know. I guess the knowledge that we had of, like, think about it. Okay, 1856 Neanderthal. People are like, yeah, fuck you, whatever. I think 1859 had Charles Darwin's book, which we talked about a couple. Yeah, Origin of Species. We talked about a couple episodes. My last show, actually.
Yeah, your last list.
And now, I don't know what was found between then and 1912, but our knowledge of human evolution from a fossil point was super thin at that time, super thin. Think about it. We hadn't discovered Lucy or any of that stuff. Like, we had very little, just a few. I mean, I don't know how much classification they had back then. I really don't know. So all you know is there's fossils found here, fossils found there, Neanderthal fossil, et cetera, where people are starting to realize, damn, maybe we came from apes. I wonder how that was. And then all of a sudden this dude comes up and says, holy shit, I found it here in Sussex, England.
That's a good point.
Check this out, man. This is badass, right?
Pip, pip, cheerio.
Yeah, and for 30 fucking years, people were scientists basing their...
So people got educations
genus
around
mapping, if you will, of human evolution off this fake ass fossil.
So that guy clickbaited his way into fame.
Yeah, he did.
Did you do any research about his fall?
No, I didn't. I mean, I remember reading about it a little bit.
To 53. So he probably wasn't alive. He'd be like 70 if he was alive still.
Depending on how old he was in 1912.
Well, assuming 20 in 1912, you got 50 more years. That puts him at 70. So he could technically still have been alive. I wonder if he was alive when he got debunked. That'd be very interesting.
I have to look him up.
Wow, talk about a fall from fame, dude.
No kidding.
Holy shit.
So that was number one. The twist that wasn't a twist.
That was a great twist.
Wasn't
fun. That was a good one.
The accidental twist. Piltdown Man.
Piltdown Man.
Piltdown Man.
This whole list reminded me of this great documentary that I watched. It had Nicolas Cage in it. It was called The Croods. It's a great rendition.
They talked about the cartoon. Are you making fun of my list?
No, not at all. I love The Croods. The Croods was a great movie. I tied your list into something I love, Ron.
And you tied your list into something someone actually cares about, Ron. That's what you meant.
Whoa.
No.
Yeah, I had to. It needed to happen.
So, obviously, you guys know I'm dork about that paleoanthropology stuff. It was bound to just be eventually time I would go down that road.
Fuck that. I've got now hours of research I want to go do, because that'll send me down a rabbit hole to see because I would like to see what the characteristics were from all of the different, the little shoot-offs of the main evolution species or evolution chain that took us to Homo sapien. I would love to see the other ones and see if they did any renderings of what they thought those people would look like, or those humanoids or hominins.
Hominins. I have a picture, and I can't remember where I was. I have a bunch of pictures. I'll have to bring them up and show them to you from 3-4 years back, where I went to a museum. I remember the kids being there. I don't remember where we were. I wonder if this was our family Vegas trip. It might have been.
Man, do you know where you are now? What year is it?
It's 2021.
He did just get lost in the past there, didn't he?
And no, I was just trying to remember where we were. Because me, wife, and kids have taken a lot of vacations, but not many out of the area, if you will.
This is the epitome of white people problems.
Yeah, exactly. So
I don't know if you want to cut that out.
most of them, no, I don't. Most of them were just like go to Orlando, go to Disney or whatever,
Sure.
But anyway, I remember going to this cool museum that had like a lot of fossils, and it was almost all fossils, stuff like that. But there was a good selection of human. I think they were casts. They weren't like actual fossils, but they were casts of fossils. It was a ton of different shit. I took a bunch of pictures, so you could actually see all the skeletal features anyway. And they had a few pictures.
That's
here's
cool.
Here's an artist a rendering of what we think this looked like.
To drop one of those
like.
into the Discord.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
That'd
once
be
the
kinda
show
cool.
hits, I'll drop some in there. But yeah, just for whatever reason, this topic just grabbed me hard several years ago, and and I just haven't let it go. I mean, sometimes I'll go through a little period of time where I haven't read up on it lately, and then all of a sudden I get down a rabbit hole again, start reading up on it.
Dude, so I did the same thing. You know mine, the hobby studies that I do. I wonder if that is like speaking of evolution, and speaking of, I guess, that really doesn't have anything to do with evolution, but we're getting older, Ron. So I wonder if that is just something that most people go through as they age. They pick up some sort of bizarre hobby that they would have no real ability most of the time to invest their career into, but they want to know as much as they can about some other side topic like that. And I did mine. I guess I started mine about 10 or 15 years ago and started studying it. So, I mean, that's not that long ago, but
if I was going to do this for a career, obviously I wouldn't want to be like out fossil hunting. Like that doesn't interest me, like out there trying to brush away rock. Fuck that.
You want to be back in the lab? Or
I want to be in the
museum?
lab trying to take the shit that people find and figure. I want to take that. Like the first thing I want to do is give me them fucking red deer caveman shit. I want to. We're gonna make this a goddamn species and call it, Homo ronaldinfus or something. Homo pombeus.
No, I think that's a gang that's already taken.
Oh, is it? Is it?
Yeah, I think they've got that URL on lockdown.
But like that kind of stuff. Like I'd want to be able to study the fossils, the real fossils, especially where you could, and try and understand the taxonomy. Is that like of
You want to stuff them?
from what we think now? Even take what people think and restudy to see were there mistakes made.
Are there more hoaxes out there now?
Are there hoaxes? But are there? I mean, now they really know that there's not. But are there some claiming of species? Do they name species that really? Okay, this really isn't a different species. I know they gave it a different species name, but really it's not. And blah blah blah. This,
If
that,
you
and
ever
the
go
other.
down
That kind
that
of
route-
stuff is what. If I was ever gonna like take a career in this job, which I mean I'm not. That's what my interest would be. I mean that is paleoanthropology.
Well, if you ever go that route,
obviously,
do me a favor, fly over to Mauritania, find some fossils, because we know that they're there, we predict that they're there, and tell me, what were the Atlanteans like?
The Atlanteans. I remember I asked you because we were talking about, might have been even off air. We were talking about your Twisted 10 that you did on
This Area 51?
This Area
Yeah.
51. You were talking about the Atlanteans, and I had asked you probably off.
Oh, how many years ago it was?
How many years ago it was? And
11,500 years to 12,500
Yeah,
years. So right inside Torah, the Toba?
Well, Toba, that's 70,000 years.
Which one was only 12,000? You had mentioned something that was only 12,000 years ago.
I think they
it was
had
a
talked
warming?
Yeah, it was just more of a
Toba warming?
climate. It was a climate change, if you will. Some
coming
kind of
out of
warming.
the Ice Age.
Yeah, I guess coming out of the ice. There was some kind of climate change, like 12
There
to
was an impact
14,000
event
years
then,
ago.
too. I talked about it on that Hysteria 51 show, and my eyes kind of lit up when we're talking around those same eras, because I knew of the disasters that occurred in that Mediterranean.
You think about the connections there of all that, right? As I read about something in it, how it ended up related to something that you were talking about, just because the event, the climate event or whatever, was probably the same climate event. If there was an impact event that caused that, it was probably the same one that affected one,
Maybe
affected the other.
Because there was supposedly a massive, massive flood. Maybe it wasn't a flood. Maybe it was an impact event that released a ton of glaciers to melt relatively quickly, and that rushed back out to the ocean. That could have been what destroyed
Moses' ship? Yeah. Oh, sorry.
that too.
Yeah, interesting.
Moses' ship. Dude, fucking cool list, dude.
That wasn't even the right person.
Nope.
I thought you did that on purpose.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I fucked it up because clearly human
Should've stuck with
evolution.
it.
Yeah, I should have
Always
stuck with it.
ride it, man. That was good.
Ride
I'm like,
the
oh, that was a-
stupidity.
That was a sarcastic joke. I like
Yeah,
that. That was
there you
a
go.
twist on religion and a twist on ignorance. Because if you think Moses had the boat, then you don't know your
He
boat,
did split the sea, though.
your boat lore.
He did split the sea.
So aren't Moses
least
and
he
Noah
did
then
on-
like arch enemies?
like-
Moses gets rid of the water, Noah rides it. So
There
they're like
you go.
arch enemies, right?
There you go.
So they fight it out in some. I'm not being as blasphemous as I sound. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's
you
fucking
are.
cool show, dude. That is so that kind of geekdom is what fascinates the hell out of me. So
Yeah, that was super geeky.
Yeah, that's
next
perfect.
one I'm gonna have to come up with something way more to the general population.
top
I
10
think.
shapes of boobs.
top 10 celebrity titties on the next Twisted 10.
You know, you said in the beginning that you have been hesitant to do this topic for a while. You said specifically that you were worried about doing it justice.
Yes,
Do you feel like you've done it justice?
I feel like it did.
because I enjoyed that, and that
Yeah,
is
I feel like I did because I set out with a purpose, and that purpose was to bring some people in who had a very, very, thin knowledge, I guess, if you will, of the subject.
I mean, I guess coming into this, like I said, I love this. I had a great time. But the odds of me ever going down a Google black hole on paleoanthropology is basically nil.
But
But I enjoyed it. That's what I'm
and
saying. Is it's just
you'll
so far out of my
remember
wheelhouse.
just bits and pieces of, oh, holy shit, you'll just remember, man, there was like 20, 30 species, and there's like some, genus.
knowing Josh, what he'll
and it
remember
came
out of
from
this
like
whole
3
show
million years.
is
and-
that Neanderthal and Neanderthal are both acceptable.
Yeah,
That's
both
probably
acceptable,
what
yeah.
he absorbed
That is the kind of thing he would
from
absorb.
the show.
What are you talking about? You're
I'm
right,
kidding.
though.
And there
You're
was
right,
some, and
though.
there was some dudes that like, I'm going to name this after myself, Heidelbergensis.
Heidelbergensis.
I would guess that again, it's probably like
Location.
geographical. Yeah,
Yeah,
location.
well, that makes sense. And,
Probably.
I would name a species after myself, though.
yeah, I think I'm pretentious enough to do the same thing.
100%.
Homo joshensis.
Sure. If it sounds Latin enough, you can call it whatever you want. The Wilsonitis or the...
No, that's
That's
like a
a
jock
disease.
itch. That's a little.
Wilsonitis, yeah, that sounds like a disease or some kind of
It's
like
actually
an affliction.
It's actually an infatuation with volleyballs.
yes, Wilson.
There you go. You got it. Nice. All right. Well, cool. You guys ready to get out of here and do the after show?
No, I want to do another 10 of this.
You want to?
Yeah, no,
I'm fascinated with it, so I could go.
no, I'm good.
Let's let Josh plug our social media, then you can kick off another 10 about it,
yeah,
Ron.
there you go. Okay.
Okay, our social media. So you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/twisted10. We are on Instagram, Instagram/twisted10. If you go to the Twisted10, that duck is not affiliated with us. That's all I know about that page, though, but it's not ours.
We owned it at one point, then somebody bought it. A bot found it available and bought it.
Is that what
so We got
happened?
screwed. Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah.
There's
It
a
cost us
duck?
like $6,000.
So there's a
Get it.
duck. If you go to Instagram/thetwisted10, they have 2 followers and it's a picture of a duck. Anyway, so Instagram.com/twisted10. That's where you can find us. It's, pictures of the studio and whatnot. We're also on Discord. You get the link to that, twisted10.com. Be a link at the bottom. And I talked about it earlier, but we are also on Patreon, patreon.com/twisted10. And again,
Thank you,
big thank
patrons.
to our patrons.
Thank you.
Faux show. All right, let's get out of here. Ron, I know you're itching to have a conversation in the after show about something in particular.
Well, not
so-
just me. I think all of us are itching to have this conversation. It's like definitely modern times.
GME, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're going to go talk about some stock market shit.
Some meme
Oh, yeah.
stocks.
Some great shit. And I've lost half my money, by the way. And I'll tell you about that too.
Oh, awesome. I mean, awesome about the story, not awesome that you lost half your money.
All right. Well, cool. Ron, fucking cool list. Nice job. Josh, you're up next.
I am.
Right.
Yep,
All
next
right.
episode's coming for me.
Very, very cool. Let's get out of here on behalf of the Twisted 10. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Adam.
I'm Josh.
And our host for the night,
Ron,
Ron. Great list, buddy.
thanks, man.
We'll see you guys
guys.
next week.